Good afternoon again. I'm Chief Tom Hackney with the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office. I'm the Chief of Detectives. I want to talk to you this afternoon about an arrest that we made in actually a couple different cases that were pretty scary in nature. Walk you through two of the different incidents that we had. Both of these incidents that we're looking at involve Taylor Manor, which is a residential facility over on the city's south side. 6,000 block of Chester Avenue is where most of the incidents occurred that I'll speak about this afternoon. On June 28th, which was a Thursday night, there was an elderly victim who woke to find that her window screen had been cut and several items taken from inside of her residence, including her credit card, jewelry, several other items that as she took inventory of her house that was found. As she did a little research, she found that later that evening, or before she woke, that her ATM card had been used and attempted to be used several times in areas pretty close to Chester Avenue where she lived. Police were called, report was written, and information was followed up on. We actually released through the PIO's office a photo of that subject. Again, the Sheriff's Office really does have great fortune with the community involvement that we have. When we put information out, thankfully through the media and to the public, we get great response. Unfortunately, in this case, we didn't get anybody who identified that subject from the ATM photo. And it was a fairly good picture, so we felt like that would be something that we would get a hit on, that somebody would see. If you flash forward in time until Saturday, this past Saturday, July 14th, same area. This is actually just a few buildings, if you will, away from the incident that occurred on June 28th. This time was an 80-year-old victim in the 6700 block of Chester Avenue. She was asleep inside of her house. This was around 2 a.m. when she woke to the sight of flashlights in her room. It's a pretty terrifying thought for anyone to have not only a burglary, but to have a burglary while they're there in the middle of the night. She noticed that a black male was in her room and was going through her things. That not being bad enough, that subject actually spoke to her, went and covered her mouth with his hand, tied her up by the hands and the feet, put something around her mouth to keep her quiet, and flipped her over and put her face down on her bed. During this incident, several items were taken, as in the incident on the 28th. Jewelry, a laptop computer in this case, credit cards, checkbooks, those kinds of things were taken. As a follow-up to what had occurred at this July 14th and July 28th case, the detectives were following up and looking at pawn information. We have a pawn database that we are requiring, and this is through city ordinance, but pawn shop owners, secondhand dealers are required to turn in information to the Sheriff's Office on information that items that are pawned. Those sometimes come in quickly, other times, depending on the business's abilities, come in within a few days. Due to the kind of heinous nature of this, we were out on foot going to these pawn shops and looking through the pawn shops to see the items that had been taken. One of the detectives, Detective Erling Lipsey, who did a great job on this case, along with Sergeant Mark Romano, had actually found a ring that belonged to the second victim who saw the suspects in her apartment. He was captured. A black male was found having pawned that ring. He identified himself, but prior to leaving his fingerprint. Now, as you pawn an item, you're required to provide identification and leave a thumbprint. Well, he had been paid for the ring, but prior to putting his thumbprint down, he left the business on foot. We were able to identify that subject, not through his thumbprint, because that was not the accurate information on the form, but that subject was identified as 27-year-old Grady Hunter. Now, Grady Hunter has a history of robbery, also using false information when pawning, which is again what he did without the thumbprint. We identified the ring that was pawned that day immediately after the burglary to the victim in that case. We did a little bit more follow-up, found the subject's girlfriend, took the ATM photo that we had released from the case back on the 28th of June, showed the girlfriend the photograph. She identified the suspect, Hunter, as the subject in the ATM photo. The subject was located at his girlfriend's house in the Powers Avenue area. We had an arrest warrant issued for the subject. At this point in time, he's been charged with dealing in stolen property, the false verification, which is the not leaving his thumbprint when he pawned, grand theft, possession of stolen credit cards, and fraudulent use of credit cards. This case is still very active. The detective involved in this case is actually looking at a couple other incidents that may have occurred that weren't actually a completed burglary in that same area, but we know of 2 completed burglaries that occurred within the Taylor Manor area. We have 1 case that was written as a criminal mischief with a screen that was cut, and another case where a woman woke, and this was discovered after all this came to light. She woke to find some things on her windowsill had been knocked over. We're trying to make a determination as to if that was indeed a burglary or just another kind of a lateral incident that may have been seen or associated with this. We're looking to charge Hunter in these cases, and again, that information is still being worked as we speak.
He's only been charged with 1 in this?
Actually, both of the cases have charges that are relative to this. Some of the fraudulent use of credit cards deal with the first case, and the ring, the false verification deals with that second case. So he is linked by physical evidence to both cases, and during a search warrant of his girlfriend's house, additional property from both cases was found in the area that he was in control of.
He's been charged with burglary in both of those cases?
No, he is not. At this point in time, he has not had the burglaries added on to him. We are, with the charges I read out, and you get a copy of the docket, are what he's actually been physically charged with now. I wanted to get this information out to the public to kind of give them an idea that this case had been put away.
Do you think there are maybe other cases? I mean, is this a reason to get it out too, in case other people may have?
Well, we don't think, we've done pretty exhaustive work in the Taylor Manor. There's actually 2 different Taylor Manor complexes. The management from that company has worked very, very closely with us. The residents have worked very closely with us. So we feel like the cases that we have are probably the ones that are out there. We don't feel like there is any more. But there have been several people, residents of Taylor Manor and other facilities of a similar nature, who were notified of this incident that occurred. I want to make sure that they're aware that the suspect in this is off the streets and is not a harm to the residents of these places.
The first one was Taylor Manor. The second was a woman who was living in her house.
They're both inside Taylor Manor.
They're both inside.
Yeah, Taylor Manor is they have basically bungalow type apartments in there. So both of these women lived in an outside facility.
The other thing, the fingerprint. He didn't leave his fingerprint, but he left the store. But then, how did you identify? How did you link him? Maybe I missed.
He gave his name.
He did give it.
Gave his name, but did not give his fingerprint. That he was
so when you knew his name, you figured out.
Any other questions?
Are the other victims that you're looking into, are they also elderly women?
Both of the victims in this case are elderly women. The other 2 that we're looking into are, I'm not sure of the age, but I believe the victims in all 4 of these cases are all similar in nature.
Any other questions? All right, thank you very much.